Have you ever wondered why some people can communicate with the spirit world and others can't? Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here today. Everyone can. And I'm going to show you an easy way that no matter what you've done, what you've tried, or even if you think that you can't connect with the spirit world, I'm going to show you a way that anyone can here today. So welcome on into this live training, everybody. I appreciate you all being here. As you come in, go ahead and comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And let me know if this is something that you're interested in, right? Are you excited for today? Because I am certainly excited. So those of you that are tuning in live here today, you've got a special, really special workshop ahead of us, okay? Now, like I mentioned, this is something that I put together. This is a weekend workshop that I used to do. I don't do it anymore, but I've condensed it down to about an hour so I can share it with you all here today. Does that sound good? Is everybody okay with that? Is everybody okay with the condensed version of my workshop? Because I did take quite a few notes. I have some stuff here to keep me on track so I don't go over my time. My name's August, and I teach people how to communicate with the spirit world without all the woo and mystery. All right. We're not going to get into all the traditions and cultures. I don't use the buzzwords. This is spirit communication, simple, easy, direct, and anyone can do it. And that's my goal here today, is to show you and teach you how you can do it too. The easy way. Okay. So I kind of want to just start off introducing myself and telling you a little bit about my story and how I got to where I am here today. So basically what happened, make a long story short, I had a very traumatic experience, all right, that started my spiritual awakening, all right? It was through the ending of a relationship. And it was a really tough period of time for me. And there was a time that I was going through it. It was probably the worst day that I was experiencing through this period. And I was in my living room. I look over and I see two spirits that had physically manifested themselves. And I thought I had lost my mind, all right? I look away, I tell myself, it's not real, it's not real. And I look back over and one of the spirits, they lean forward and they say, no, we are real and we need to talk to you. I had never experienced anything like that before. I didn't grow up experiencing these mystical spiritual experiences. I didn't grow up, aware of the spirit world. This was literally the first time in my life that I had ever experienced anything like this. This was probably about my mid-30s, and it scared me. And so I ran out of my house. I ran out of my house and I called the only person that I could think of. I called my therapist that I was seeing at the time. And so she tells me, hey, well, why don't you come in? All right. So I ended up coming in and we talked for a little while and she says, August, I don't think that you are going crazy. You're not in psychosis. You're having a spiritual awakening. And I never heard that term before, so my reaction was, well, how do I make it stop? And so she sat for the next, hour or so and explained to me what was going on and what was happening. And so this was a licensed mental health counselor, right? Lo and behold, out of all the counselors, out of everybody that I decided to go with, I picked somebody that was heavily involved in the spiritual community, somebody that was spiritual themselves. And so, I'm sure it wasn't any kind of a coincidence, right? And so I went home that night. I felt a little bit better. I understood what was going on, but I was still scared. I went home that evening. I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and I could feel those spirits there. I couldn't see them, but it was a good thing, right? It was a good thing. So I could feel those spirits there and I could feel how much they cared for me, how much they loved me, and how much they were really there to help me, all right? And so all of a sudden, they started speaking to me and I started talking back to them, asking questions. I had no idea how this was happening. I had no idea how I was hearing them. I had no idea how I was talking to them. I wasn't talking out loud. It was all happening internally, silently, right? But it was like telepathic communication. I had no idea how it was all working, okay? I knew nothing about this, right? And so for the next 3 days, I had talked to these beings and they were giving me all kinds of information. They told me to write it down. I filled up 3 notebooks full of things, full of all kinds of information. And also during this 3-day period, every person that I ever knew who had passed had come to visit me at some point in those 3 days. And they were beautiful experiences. They were telling me about, what was going on the other side. They were coming to visit. They were giving words of encouragement. There was a lot of beautiful interactions during these 3 days. But then I woke up and it was all gone. That fourth day I woke up and there was nothing. Dead silence, right? And I had no idea what happened. I don't know where it went. I don't know why it ended. All I knew is that I needed to get it back. And so that's where my spiritual journey really began, right? Was in that moment. And so I started to do research. I started to, do everything that many of you have done in a spiritual awakening, right? And reading the books, taking courses, following people, watching videos, all of that other stuff, except for the next 2 years, I took it to the extreme. All right. I literally dropped everything in my life and did nothing but focus on trying to learn how to communicate with the spirit world. I mean, I did everything. I flew all over the world. I went to spiritual retreats. I mentored with many of the big name mediums that are out there today. They've got TV shows, have written books. I've worked directly with them. I even went to the Arthur Finlay College in United Kingdom. For those of you that aren't familiar, this is a world-renowned psychic and mediumship school. They call themselves the real world Hogwarts, and it was a pretty cool experience. And so that's like the holy grail. Like if you want to become a professional psychic medium, that's what you do. You go study, in one of these spiritualist unions. And so I did all of it, right? I did everything for 2 years, read a book a week. I mean, I did everything that you're supposed to do. And I still wasn't able to have an experience like I did those first 3 days. I met some cool people and I did have some pretty interesting experiences, but nothing, not even close, not even 10% of what I experienced those first 3 days. And so you can imagine I was really discouraged. Right? I was really, really discouraged. And what ended up happening is that I decided that I'm at the point I either give up or move on with my life. I don't know what to do. And so I decided that I needed to move forward because I couldn't deny those first 3 days. And so what I decided to do is just throw away everything that I had learned on those 2 years. All the money that I invested, everything that I did, I just literally threw it in a trash can. And I decided what I was going to do is I was going to go back to those first 3 days and just pick it apart. Analyze the crap out of it, really sit there and think and feel and like I did for weeks, obsessed, like intensely obsessed about those first 3 days. And what happened is I started to have insights. And then I would apply those insights, right? The first insight that I had was this is way easier and simple than anyone has ever shared with me over these past 2 years. That was the first insight that I had. And that literally changed everything for me because that's the approach that I then took. All right. And so I started to apply these insights that I would have. I would have a newer experience, one that went a little bit deeper, and then I would be able to analyze that new experience, right? And then I would go a little bit deeper, have a new experience, analyze that experience. I kept going. I did this for 7 more years. Okay. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, it was grueling. I was super obsessed. I had this fire inside of me that was pushing me to figure this out. And so that's what I was doing, figuring this out. And so I got to the place where I could, connect with any spirit, anytime, whenever I want. All right. And go right into it without a meditation, right? Just, be here right now, boom, connect with the spirit. And so it was funny how it all happened, right? It was like, I kept going, I kept progressing little by little. Experiences were getting better and experiences were getting more vivid, more, less doubt, right? Over the 7 years. And then there was this one time where it felt like this puzzle piece clicked into place and it was boom. And then that's where it was. It landed. I had it. It wasn't going anywhere. I knew it. And so what I was doing too is I was talking to people about this and I was sharing my experiences, and what people were doing were going and, trying some of the stuff that I was talking about. I was by no means teaching anything. I was just talking about my experiences and people would ask questions. And so the people that I was talking to about my experiences would come back time and time again and say, August, this stuff is working. You've got to try it. You've got to teach this. We're having experiences. We're going deeper just by the stuff you're sharing with us. And so I said, no, I'm completely content with my life. I don't want to teach this. It's not on my radar. I love my life and I love where I am right now, my connection with the spirit world. Well, it took me another year and I reluctantly held my first workshop. Okay. And about 20 people showed up. I was absolutely so afraid that I was going to fail and I was going to bomb this. But I went forward, all right, and I just talked about my experiences. I did what I had been doing for the past year, and I just talked about what was happening and answered people's questions. And then at the end of it, I said, okay, now you guys get together. You guys pair up into pairs and you're going to practice read. One person's going to be the medium and read for the other person. And then we're going to switch, okay? And everybody got into pairs, and I remember staring at the door. I was like, if you just leave now, August, if you just leave, you're not going to embarrass yourself in front of all these people. Well, I ended up staying, and I told everybody, okay, now you begin. And it was dead silence. I mean, absolutely dead silence. And I'm sitting there in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm such a failure. These people are going to start laughing at me any second. And then as soon as I had that thought, one of the women in the back started to describe a spirit that she saw behind the person that she was reading for. And she was describing this spirit in such great detail. I mean, down to the clothes, the facial expressions, facial speech features, talked about her ears, jewelry, clothing, mannerisms, things that she did for work. I mean, and just spit it all out right away. And the person she was reading for just broke down in tears and said, "That's my sister." And as soon as I could take it in, wow, it really happened, the whole room started to talk. Everybody was channeling a spirit. Everybody was reading for their partner. And I just walked around the next 45 minutes in just sheer amazement. I couldn't believe what was happening. Everybody was doing it, right? And so the workshop ended. A lot of people came and they talked to me and they were telling me about their experiences and sharing these amazing heartfelt experiences that they were having. But there was one woman in the back that waited until everybody was gone. And she came up to, I'll never forget this. I get choked up when I think about it. She came up to me and she said, "August, my husband 20 years ago died very tragically. And I've been worried about him. I didn't know if he was still suffering on the other side. I didn't know if he made it okay. I didn't know what was going on. And I've had this sickening feeling since he's passed, and I've carried it for 20 years and I haven't been able to shake it." And she said, "I want you to know, in this one workshop, you snapped me out of a 20-year grief spell, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that I connected with my husband. I saw him, felt him, and just knew he was there. And we had a deep conversation. He told me that he was all right, that he never suffered, that he made it onto the other side, no problem, that he's been there with me since he's crossed, and that he's been telling me and guiding me. He confirmed all of the times that I thought that he was giving me signs, but I dismissed. He told me all of those times, and he gave me some guidance. It was just she's crying, I'm crying, right? And we're just, I'm here listening to the story. And she left, right? And I knew that what I was here for after that. I knew that I needed to get this out, that I needed to spread this. And that's how this came about. Slowly but surely, over the next several years, I started to, talk about this and get on social media, and everything just blew up immediately. And so I knew that I was on the right path. I found it. That's what I'm here for. All right. And some of the things that have changed for me personally, some of the transformations that happened for me, and that's happening for a lot of the people that I worked with, is that now we have this super connection with our spirit guides. I feel like I have this professional team of spiritual advisors that I can tap into at any minute. And it's really amazing, because we always joke and laugh a lot too. It's hilarious. It's like I have all of these friends that are on the other side now that want to help, not only that, but it's also helped me in my relationships, right? Because I'm more attuned to the energy. I'm more attuned to the needs of the other person and what they're they're feeling. I have so much more empathy for them, right? And vice versa. And so it's really made my relationships that much richer. And not only that, but what this has done for me, what the number one thing that this has done for me more than anything has increased my quality of life by making better decisions, right? Because I can feel into the energy of my life, and I can feel into my life path and my purpose and my meaning and the satisfaction that I get. And I know where that comes from now, right? I'm able to tune into the energy of my decision and to see what's going to happen in these different scenarios that I can play out, right? And know with certainty in which direction I'm supposed to step. That alone has been the number one biggest transformation for me by far. It's increased my quality of life like I can't even tell you. All right. And now the byproduct also too is I get to visit with my loved ones anytime I want, right? Birthdays, they're there. Holidays, they're there. They drop in if they just want to visit and we miss each other. Like it's just there. We're able to, I'm able to continue that relationship with my loved ones and my friends, anytime that we want to connect. All right. And the most important thing, or the coolest thing, I will say the coolest thing, is that I've been able to explore my own spirituality on my own without having to go to another teacher, without having to read a book, without having to do research. If I have any kind of spiritual questions, or if I want to spiritually explore on my own, I go and do it. I tap into the energy that connects us all, right? And get those answers, or do my exploring, or project my awareness, whatever it is, right? And so that was been a really cool byproduct of all of this as well. And I want to be clear about something, right? If this is possible for me, anyone can do it. Like I'm nobody special. I promise you. I am not special. I'm just some regular dude, random guy off the street, right? That I have a life, I have a family, I have problems in life, I fix them, I solve them, I have, Monday, I still do the dishes, I do the laundry, I take care of kids, I go into different, right? I'm a dad, and so I'm just regular, right? No different than anybody. And if I can do this, truly, anyone can. I didn't even believe in any of this. And it's my goal here today is to show you the way to do it too. Okay? I want to show you the way to do it. Because ultimately, what I did discover along my journey is that spirit communication is simple. It's easy. It really is. But the problem is most people get caught up in the old way. All right, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the truth is, the new way is simplicity. It truly is. So I'll go and I'll check. Do you guys have any questions, any comments, anything that you'd like me to discuss? I'll go real quick to the questions and see. I'll answer a few questions in here. Yeah, thank you, Che. Yeah, I have some notes in my hand right here, just to help me keep me on track. Right, this is a super long workshop, and so I've got it broken down. I got some notes to keep me on track, to see if we can get out of here in an hour. Otherwise, it would take me a whole weekend. No, I'm not on Patreon. I'm just here on social media, guys. Don, hey, how's it going? Yeah, Sonia, that's why I'm reading from papers. I'm not really reading. They're just notes. I'm just glancing. Kelly, welcome. No, I'm not doing readings. I'm going to teach you guys how to do this so you don't need to ever ask anybody for a reading. That's what we're doing here today. I'm able to feel how spirits died, but I can't seem to get past that part. Well, that's really good because that means that you're feeling their energy. You're going to be able to, this is all going to make sense and click for you. Don't worry. Yeah. So August, I've always felt that I can do this, and I felt that the rituals and the teachings are so confusing. They are. They're so confused. That's what I found on my journey. That's really that 2-year journey that I went through. There was so much information and there's so much of it that conflicts, right? It depends on what teacher you follow, what book you're reading, what course you're taking, right? There's all of these different rules that you have to follow. There's all of these different rituals that you have to perform. There's all of the different tools that you have to get, right? There's this, you have to meditate. Oh, that was the worst one, right? That was such a pain for me. That was such a pain for me. Meditation is so uncomfortable, right? It's so uncomfortable. I don't meditate at all, like not in the traditional sense, right? I do not, you'll never see me sitting cross-legged on the ground oming for 45 minutes because it is painful, okay? I prefer to just go on a walk and that does it for me. Or at the gym. Those two things do it for me. And I'm only meditating for my own self, right? To clear and reset my energy, to calm the mind. That's it. I'm not doing it to connect with the spirit world. We don't need meditation to connect with the spirit world or our spiritual abilities in any way. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Let's see. I'll take one more question and I'm going to go into the next part. Yeah, so hey, Nancy, I don't do an actual class. I do have a mentorship program that I work through, and it is all via Zoom. So any of my classes, they'll be done here live on social media, but I don't teach classes in the traditional sense where you sign up and you come, all of that other stuff. All of that I do is, like I said, through my mentorship program, and that's all via Zoom. Mary, welcome. First time here. Thank you. Thanks for watching. How seamless is the transition from here to the afterlife? Completely seamless. It is, it is something that just happens and it's almost automatic and it's just as easy as breathing. All right, let's go on to the next part, okay? So, let's see. All right. Simplicity is the way. And let me show you what I mean. All right. Like we mentioned earlier, like some of the traditional methods, right? And rituals and even the lore, right? We have to open our third eye. We have to, meditate. We have to balance chakras. We need to use pendulums. We need to use these toys, right? We need to, be in perfect alignment. We need to raise our vibration. That's the old way, right? That's the old way. But the truth is we don't need any of that. You can go right into a connection, start communicating with the spirit, having a flowing conversation right now, boom, in 3 seconds without any of that. All right. Without any of that stuff. Now, I've got a cool story that I want to share with you guys about this, right? About how I found out that we can actually go right into it without any of those things, okay? And it was when I was going along that 7-year journey, like I mentioned earlier, when I was like trying to figure out all of this stuff. I had been going to some mediumship circles, all right, practice circles. And for those of you who don't know what those are, these are things where you gather around with other practicing mediums and you just do practice readings with each other, okay? And so I had been doing that for a long time. And I was absolutely terrible at it. So bad at reading, right? But I would still show up and I would get my reps in. And, every once in a while I would make a connection and some stuff would be good. I would do a halfway decent job, all right? But I had no idea why. And what they were teaching us there is that there was this whole thing that we had to do, right? That we had to, go through, do a quick 5-minute meditation, center ourselves, go through and do some protection, wrapping yourself in white light and visualizing your chakras opening up and the different colors. Like there was this whole process that took 10 minutes. Then you could begin the reading, right? And sometimes it was even longer, right? It could take even longer. You call in your guides, you have your guides with you, right? It can be this whole thing. It took anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes before you could actually start to do the reading, all right? And I remember I sat down one day Because here's the thing, when I would go in and I would do practice readings for people, sometimes I would feel the spirit there already. Like when I'm in the middle of like going through all of this weird stuff, right? I would feel the spirit there and I could tell that it was wanting to communicate, but I wanted to follow the directions and honor what I was learning. And I went through my process, and then I would connect to the spirit and they wouldn't be there, or I wasn't perceiving them. I didn't feel them anymore. They were no longer there. And this happened quite a few times to me, right? And I remember one day I came in, I sat down, I was reading for this guy, and I started to go into my process, and I felt the spirit there, like within 5 seconds, I felt the spirit, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. Let's talk. And boom, right away, the spirit just starts talking to me. Starts telling me about how he was friends in college with the gentleman that I was reading for, and about how they had this falling out and they never talked again after that, and how, he really wished that didn't happen and that he would have made amends. He was taking full responsibility for this falling out, right? And so I was relaying this information, and the guy I'm reading for says, well, I did have that situation did occur. Can you tell me a little bit more about what he looks like? And I was like, okay. And so immediately, like, I started to see him there now. And he's wearing Doc Marten boots. He's wearing, leather pants. He's got this vest on, a mohawk, one dangling earring. I mean, straight up Gothic attire. I mean, this guy was hardcore. And the guy I'm reading for is like, wow, you're talking about my high school friend or my college friend for sure. But I haven't talked to him since that day. I don't even know if he's passed. But, I know some of his family that I could still get in touch with to ask. Can you ask him how he passed? And so I asked the spirit, and the spirit tells me I was electrocuted. And I was like, what? I was like, what? Who dies by electrocution? And I said, what do you mean? I asked the spirit, what do you mean? He said, well, I got in a car accident and I ended up hitting a telephone pole. And the telephone pole, had a power line on it and broke and fell on my car. But I was fine after the accident. But what happened is I went to get out of the car and I was electrocuted by the line. And so I gave this information. I'm like, wow, I remember thinking, wow, that was really specific. Like really specific. I felt good about myself. And I was like, yeah, I got this, right? And so the guy tells me, he says, that I'm reading for, says, I don't know. Let me connect with his family. If I get a hold of them, I'll let you know something next week. And so next week rolls around. He comes in and he says, August, he's got this big smile on his face. He says, you're never going to believe this. But I did connect with the family. They told me that he passed several years after we had stopped talking. And get this, he was electrocuted by a power line from a car accident. And I said, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. Like I got chills from it now still. And in that moment, right, I got instant confirmation that this is easy, that this is simple, that we don't need those rituals. That's all stuff in the past. I will never try and do any of that from that point forward. And I didn't. And you know what actually happened is my connection improved. It doubled at that point. Right. I still had kinks to work out when I was going through that. Like I was like in the middle of the 7-year journey, right? When that hit me. But that one insight allowed me to propel things to whole new levels, right? I was connecting faster. I was connecting stronger. I was getting more information, right? When I let all of that stuff go. Right? So can you see, does it make sense for you guys? Who's connected like that before, right? Even if you think about it, let me know if you've ever connected like this. You've just been walking around and then randomly, boom, there they are. They're talking, it's fluent, boom. And then you try and connect and it's gone, right? How many of you has that happened to, right? It happens instantly. It's easy. Does that make sense? Isn't that cool that we can do it without all of that other stuff? Doesn't that make you feel good? I remember when I found that out, I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't need to do any of this stuff. I was so tired of it. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't it feel good to know? Yeah. So if you're a homebody, for example, and most likely you will have a lovely luxury. I don't know what that means. When spirit is in my energy field, I start yawning and my eyes water every single time. Yeah, so that's what I call that is spirit radar. I get the yawns too, right? There's these different sensations that we experience, or these weird things that happen to us when we're in the presence of a spirit. It's pretty much their energy interacting with ours, right? And I get I start to yawn, and a really weird one is my nose itches. Like I cannot satisfy the itch, right? I'm getting it now, right? Who's here? Right? And I get this itch that I just can't satisfy, right? Along with all the other normal stuff, the tingles, the hair standing up, feeling this expansiveness, all of the other common things. But that's some of the weirder things that happens, Does anybody else yawn or get the nose itch? It's like cobwebs, right? It's like spider webs on your nose that you just can't, Yeah. Okay. So let's see, where are we now? Oh. So every time I say that spirit communication is easy and that it's simple and that anyone can do it, there's always someone out there that says, well, it's simple and I believe that anyone can do it, just not me. Be honest. Who's thinking that right now? Let me know. Be honest. Who is thinking that, right? This sounds good. This is amazing. I've heard, I've had people tell me that I can connect, but it'll work for everybody but me, right? I can see it now. Everybody's here. Me, right? Yes. I know. I thought I had those same thoughts too, right? And listen, I've heard it 1,000 times. I've heard it 1,000 times over and over again. There's always somebody sitting out there thinking that. All right. And I want to tell you another story that kind of can put all that to rest for you. All right. And it happened one of the first workshops that I ever held. All right. It was like in the beginning of my teaching this, right? And I used to do these kind of like weekend workshops where, people would come in and I would facilitate connections for them, right? I would come in and I would help them have an experience. And so day one would be just kind of like, talking and connecting and all of this other stuff, right? And so one of the things that we do when we first get in is we go around the room and we would talk about, what we're here and what our intentions are. And so everybody's always, either wants to, read professionally, or they've lost a loved one, or this is some sort of an interest, right? And so everybody would share that. And I remember we got to this one guy and he goes, look, I want to just let you know, I don't believe in any of this stuff. This is all nonsense. You see those 3 over there? Those are my friends. We were looking for something to do this weekend. They thought this was interesting and they dragged me over here. And so, even if this was something that was possible and real, I don't think that you could ever teach it. And I said, okay. And I told him, I said, well, look, man, I'm not here to change your beliefs. I don't want to force something on you. I don't want to tell you that it's something. And frankly, you shouldn't believe me. You should believe your own experiences. So that said, why don't we do this? Why don't you just ask yourself, be curious and ask yourself, what if it is real? What if it is possible? What if I can learn something? Just come in with curiosity and participate and genuinely and authentically try and make a connection. Just come in here and try. Don't worry. I'm not telling you to change your beliefs. You can believe whatever you want, and after this workshop, you can bring all of those beliefs back. And I'll tell you what, if you go through this workshop and you don't have an experience, for the last 20 minutes of this workshop, I'll let you come up in the front and make fun of me and make fun of all of this. And he smiled and he's like, deal, I got this, right? And I was kind of nervous, right? And I was like, wow, this is kind of like a big thing. I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to be able to help him or that he wasn't going to genuinely try. And so anyway, So we finish the workshop, we do the instructional part, and then the next day we go in and we do the experiential part. And the way that it works is I help the group come into, I bring the group through a process in order to get, the group, somewhat connected. Some people go right into it, some people need a little more help. And so I do this partial group, and then I walk around and I start helping people that are having a hard time, out in the audience. And so I'm helping a few people, and I'm walking around and I see that I've got my eye on this guy, and he really is trying. He really is doing what we're supposed to do. He's sitting back there, he's trying. And I was really surprised, right? I was actually kind of surprised that he was trying. I didn't think that he was. And so I could see that he was struggling though. And so I finally went back there and I worked with him. And he's like, look, August, I am really trying. I want you to know that I am really trying. And I said, no, I could tell. And so I sat with him and I helped him for a few minutes, and we're sitting there, we're working together. And then all of a sudden he sits straight up and starts crying. And I felt his mother come in. And I said, I knew in that moment, I was like, all right, you're good. And I walked away, and he had this deep experience. He was back there crying, smiling, laughing. I was keeping an eye on him the whole time, right? And so after that, I walked around and I was helping other people. And, after a while, the experience ended. And then with the end of the day, we take a break. And the end of the day, what we do is we all process and we integrate. And so we all come back after lunch and stuff, and we're talking, we're processing, we're sharing our experiences, all of these other things, right? And and I get to this guy in the back, and I'm like, man, I'm dying to hear what your experience was. And he tells me, he goes, August, all I have to say is thank you. Thank you for asking me to put my beliefs aside. I didn't believe in any of this, but today I connected with my mother. She passed when I was young, and she came in and she told me a lot of things that I needed to hear. We had such a beautiful experience. Thank you so much, because this would have never happened if you didn't ask me to participate. And so in that moment, that really, really led me, and like it all clicked for me. It's like, wow, anybody can really do this. Even if this guy that didn't think he can, right? Even if happened to me, it just happened to me, right? Out of nowhere, without having to study any of this. And then it happened to this guy too. This gentleman that wasn't looking for any of this, that didn't even believe. But what did he do? He gave it his best shot. He came in open-minded and authentically and genuinely participated. That's the only requirement to this. That is all you need, and you can connect. You can do this. Anybody can. Just come in and participate, and don't give up. All right? That's pretty cool, huh? And, another thing, since then, I've worked with tons of other people that have been the same way, right? That didn't believe in this at all, but they came in for one reason or another, right? They found their way to me for one reason or another, and now they're doing this, right? Now they're doing this. All right, so the other thing, all right? The other piece to this puzzle, right? This is the piece that clicked for me, that changed everything. When I discovered this was at the end of my 9-year journey. I went on a 9-year spiritual journey, 2 years doing the traditional stuff, 7 years trying to figure out how to do it on my own. At the end of that 9-year journey, this was the puzzle piece that clicked for me, all right? And let me know if you're one of these people first, right? Because there are some people out there right now that's like, August, okay, I believe you that it's easy. I believe you that everybody can do this, but I've tried everything and nothing's working. Is that you? Let me know. Be honest, right? Have you tried everything and nothing is working? Because that was me at the end of that first 2 years. I literally tried everything, all right? This is the reason why, okay? The reason why you've tried everything and nothing's working is because you need to find your unique way of connecting. Everybody connects differently. I have worked with thousands of people. I've never seen two connect in the same way. And without finding your unique way of connecting, without somebody directing you and helping you, or, discovering your unique way of connecting, that it's not going to happen for you to the level that you want for you to be able to have that undeniable flowing conversation with the spirit world where there is no doubt. You're not going to be able to do that without finding your way of connecting. That's why the books, the courses, the other teachings, all of the stuff, all of the information that you've been gathering may help you have a few experiences, but nothing's going to take you there because it's not teaching you your way. There is no I can't write down a set of rules and say, here you go. If you follow these rules, you will connect. It's different for everybody. There is no framework. And I see so many people get stuck in that, right? They commit to a teacher, or they commit to a way of connecting, or they find something that kind of works. And then they just beat their head against the wall, trying to make it work, trying to make it work, trying to make it work, and eventually give up and go on to the next thing. All right. And so what happened for me, this is how you find your unique way of connecting. All right. Remember, I was going through that 7-year phase of analyzing my experiences. That's really what you have to do. All right. There's two ways. All right. There's two ways. The first way is that you have to go and consume everything, right? Consume everything that you can, but be quick to let go of what's not working. All right. And be quick to move on when you know your time is done. Take what works and go. That's it. Be careful to be quick to throw stuff in the trash. All right. And if you can do that, you're going to start to find and get clues to your unique way of connecting. The other piece to that you have to do is that you have to analyze your experiences. Every time you have a connection, you need to figure it out, right? That's what I did. I had been tracking for 7 years, right? I would have an experience. There would be an insight. I would analyze that and I would go deeper the next time. I would have a new experience, right? I was tracking how it was working. And then when that last little piece that I needed clicked into place, boom, I knew my path. I knew how I connected. I knew my unique way of connecting because I tracked it. That's what you have to do also. Right? And I know a lot of people out there are like, well, tell me my unique way. Tell me my unique way. The truth is I can't. I can't tell you what your unique way is. The only ways that you can do it is, number one, what I just discussed, right? Go out there, consume everything, and move on fast, right? That's the key, right? It shouldn't take you 7 years if you're dropping the information quickly and moving on to something different. You should be able to do it a lot faster than I did with that one piece of advice, but you've got to track your progress, all right? That's the one way that you can do it. Now, you can also fast track and skip all of that because that's what my students do. All right. When I work with them, what we end up doing is I'll literally hold their hand and walk them right into that first undeniable experience, that flowing conversation with the spirit world. I'll get them there to where there is no doubt. Right. And what happens is we're bouncing around off of all of this stuff. It's chaotic, right? They're like, oh, I'm doubting. I'm in my head. Oh, I don't feel anything. Right. And we're just shifting directions. We're bouncing off every block that they have. Boom, until we get there. And once we get there, because I've been watching where the energy opens up, where it closed down, what's working, what's not, I'm tracking your progress. So finally, when that last puzzle piece clicks, boom, we know exactly how you connect. We know exactly how to get you there. All right. And then from there, once you know your way, you have it for life. It doesn't go away. It doesn't change. That's it. You're done. You've got it. Okay. And so that's the workshop that I wanted to deliver to you guys. All right, that's what it's all about. I'll take some questions now. But first, I want to ask you guys real quick a question. Is it okay if I share with you guys? Because I know a lot of you are out there, well, how does that work? Well, if we work with you, what goes on? And I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions about how to work with me, but I want to be respectful of your time. Before I go to Q&A, is it okay if I really quickly just take a few minutes and tell you what it's like when you work with me? I want to make sure that it's okay with everybody first. I thought I had some water around here. Yes, it's okay. Okay, cool. I appreciate that, guys. So The way that we work together, all right, it's over the course of a 12-month period. We would meet twice a month for 2 hours at a time, all right? And what we're doing in here is we are going right into it. There is no curriculum. There's no nothing, right? There's no steps. There's no let's talk about it. What ends up happening, right? And these are group coaching sessions, okay? But what ends up happening is we're going into this. You're using your abilities from day one. I'm helping, I'm guiding, I'm there with you, okay? And what ends up happening, like I said, in these sessions is the way that I work with the new students that just come into the program is that it's volunteer based. And so if you volunteer and you want to work with me, like I said, we're going to do what I said earlier. I'm going to hold your hand and walk you into that experience. We're going to get you there. Boom, you're going to go there, right? And we're going to get your unique way of connecting, right? That first time we work together, okay? Then from there, all right, then from there, what happens with most of my students, it only takes them about 3 times connecting with me in that way or working with me in that way, and they've got it. They can do this. You can go off on your own. You'll be able to have your own experiences. You don't need me anymore. You're going to be connecting deeply and on your own, okay? And the reason it works so fast is because the first time you're going to see what's really possible. Mind's going to be blown. A whole new world opens up to you. You're like, boom, oh my goodness. Okay. So you see what's possible. The second time we work together, you're going to see that it's not an accident. You're going to see that it's not random. You're going to see that you can actually do this whenever you want. The third time we work together, I really don't help my students that much at all, right? Because I might give you a nudge here and there if you need it. But what happens is because you know your unique way of connecting, because you've already navigated and used it twice, you've got some experience now. It's the same every time. So that third time you're going, right? And what I like to say is that after that, you're 95% the way there. But that's not good enough for me. We're going to get you to 100% connected with your abilities. And like I said, you're going to have this foundation. You're going to go home. This whole new world's opened up to you. You're going to have these experiences. You're going to go deep. I went to go connect with my loved one and 4 of them showed up. How do I handle that, right? I had this amazing, wonderful experience. How do I recreate that, right? I got a little stuck here in this certain situation. What do I do here, right? At that point, once you've done that, worked with me, and you've got your unique way of connecting, you're going to have more questions than you ever thought were possible, okay? And so that's what we do with some of our other sessions, okay? We come back, we work together, we fine tune, we fix everything, we get you there until you're comfortable, all right? Now, it does not take anywhere near 12 months for anybody to get this. It does not take that long, all right? The reason why I offer this 12-month mentorship is because I got to put some sort of a timeline on it, all right? But it's way more than anyone needs, all right? And the reason why I have such a huge timeline is the most important reason, number one, is because I never want to push somebody faster than they're comfortable going. And so if you want to just kind of I have students that come in that just want to tiptoe and kind of not really participate every session, just maybe kind of watch and kind of walk through this slowly and warm up to it and, really ease into it. All right. 12 months is way more than you need in order to do that. All right. And then I have students that jump in and they're like, I can't learn this fast enough. Let's go. I want it today. Those students get it in about 90 days. All right, it takes them about 90 days. All right. The other reason I have a big 12-month window is because this is flexible, right? Life happens, right? We have scheduling conflicts. We have, last minute changes. We have days that we don't feel good. There's no ever pressure to ever attend one of our group sessions. You don't have to because there is no curriculum. It's all tailored to you and your specific needs. All right, so you can just skip it, come to the next one. It's not a big deal. You've got plenty of time to do this, okay? Plenty of time to get your reps in. And, it doesn't even matter if you miss one anyway, because everything's recorded. You get a recording of all of our sessions, okay? And so there's a lot more that goes along with this, but that's the gist of how I work with my students, right? There's so much more that's included and involved in my mentorship program, but I wanted to let you guys know real quick what it looks like to work with me. All right. And so if this sounds like something like some of you are wanting to do or anything, you can go to the link in my bio or the link in the comments. Somewhere you'll find a link that you can schedule an appointment. You can schedule an interview for my mentorship program, right? I don't work with everybody. I open up a few spaces, a few spaces at a time. I currently have some space available now. So if you want to schedule an interview, and then we'll kind of see from there, and we'll get you in. Okay. We'll get you in from there. All right. But the first step is to book an interview, and you can do that. The link in my main profile, or I think there might be one in the comments here as well. All right. So let's see if there's any. What's my sign? Can't you tell what my sign is? Sun sign Leo. Oh, Renee, you're welcome. Do I have any book recommendations? Not really. And the reason I don't have any book recommendations is because you need to follow the breadcrumbs, right? If you're out there consuming everything, you need to pick up a book, read all of them, right? That's my recommendation. Read all of them. And if it doesn't feel right when you're reading it, just move on. If you don't get anything out of the book, right? Here's the thing. You should be able to validate your experience based on what you're learning, right? So if you can read a book and you can take that information and have an experience with that information, great. Use that. Use what worked and move on. If it doesn't work, stop trying and go to something different. So consume it all. Sarah, so no, my mentorship, so yes, my mentorship is ongoing. There's, for new students, there is not a set of time. There is no curriculum, right? There are no steps. We had some people that signed up last week, and so there's some seats available right now. What happens is when seats come available, I do new enrollments, right? So there's not a start date. Everybody can start at a different day. Yeah, so Vegas says, I did a mediumship course for 2 years, but I plateaued. I hear that all the time. Most students that come into me have had that experience, right? And we just take it to the next level, right? Because here's the thing. I'm not teaching spirit communication. I'm not giving you info. I'm helping you have an experience. I couldn't teach you anything even if I wanted to. The experience is the teacher. I can't do it, right? And so I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to walk through it together. All right. And I'm going to take you into, I'm going to help you go into that experience. Right? And that's what's going to teach us. Okay. There's no more info. You guys don't need any more info. You need experience. Do I do advanced mentorship work for working mediums? Yeah. So Heather, I absolutely do. And the funny part is I have, professional mediums that have come through my program, like really well-known ones that have come through my program to kind of help fine tune things. And when we work together, one of the number one things that I hear from the professionals is, wow, I never thought that it was possible to connect on that level. This blew my mind, right? That is a common reoccurrence I hear from many professionals that I work with. Yeah, Meg, if you're in the UK, you can join too. Listen, I work with students all over the world. All right. I have students in not every country, but a lot of different countries. I work with people from all over the world. This is held via Zoom and we can work together wherever you are. Yeah, it is a paid program. There are fees for the program, but based on what your needs are and what you need, that really is what determines the price. And so, like I said, the first thing, I don't really give pricing out ahead of time because we got to figure out what that is for you, what it looks like for you, what package you're needing. All right. And so The first step anyway, before we even get into that, is to have an interview, right? Because I want to make sure, I want to make sure that we're good to work together, right? I want to make sure that I can over deliver for anything that you want, right? And so that's the first step. Let's have that interview and then we go from there. So to schedule an interview, the interview is absolutely is complimentary, right? But it's only for people who are ready to sign up. You're ready to go, okay? You're gonna book on the call, right? If you're approved, you're ready to go and you're gonna book on the call, right? If there's not the right timing or you're not serious about this or it's more of a hobby or interest, just wait until later, right? Wait until it becomes more serious. Keep watching my content. But if you're like, I need this, I need to get this, I'm serious about this, right? And I'm ready to go, then that's what the interview is for. Are there any posts or videos where we can see you do readings? No, I don't do readings. I don't do, well, I haven't in a long time, right? I haven't in a long time. I don't have any recorded ones. The only time I ever may go into a reading is during one of my programs, right? But I mean, if you want to see what students are saying, I mean, I got reviews everywhere. There's a pinned post on my TikTok that there's reviews. You could look at my Google reviews, go to my website. I mean, you can see what people are saying about their experience working with me. But as far as readings, like that would take away the time that I have to deliver this to other people, to help other people connect, right? That's the way that I can make the biggest impact on this world, rather than doing readings for other people, would be to teach you how to do this. And then you guys go out and spread it. All right.